It's your characters. Shut up, Todd. Leave your plot one side. You too, James. Your world building doesn't mean jack if your characters aren't compelling. It is your characters that move your plot. It is your characters that explore your setting. If they aren't compelling, we absolutely won't be as invested in your interesting plot or vibrant world building as we could. But if you have compelling characters, you may have the most boring, unengaging plot or the most lifeless world building, and we still see you as a great storyteller. That's just how it is. I mean, look at Dragon Ball Super. We keep going back to the garbage because of who Goku is. Hate it all you want, but you want people to ride your meat the way they rode Toriyama. You want to brainwash people into behaving like a cult when your story becomes a topic. And in order to do that, we must fall in love with your characters. Now you know the importance of having compelling characters. Let's actually investigate compelling characters. Take note, I said characters and not protagonists. This won't work if only your protagonist is compelling. What is it about a character that compels us to be more invested in a story? I might have to stop you right there, Todd. Personality is the least important thing on this 3-point list. Let me rephrase it. Personality is important, but it's the least important. What's more important than the personality is the why behind the personality. And there's 2 layers to the why. The seen and the unseen. Humor me for a minute. The seen why is anything that we as readers are told or shown about the character. And the unseen why is anything we as readers feel about the character. The things those nerds on YouTube point out about a character. Look at Eren Yeager. We see his hatred for Titans and later on the Malayans, but really, we feel the lengths he'd go to for freedom and for his friends more specifically. Or look at Light Yagami. We see his thirst for justice and his desire to be a god, but we feel how much fun he has with Elle and his deep satisfaction as he is finally challenged intellectually. The world building in Death Note is absolute bums, but you didn't notice that, did you? Ignorance is bliss, and that's why Misa Misa had a happy ending with a long lifespan, but that's just something you felt, and you didn't really take note of it. You see, these feelings in the unseen are what makes events in a plot memorable in the first place. Let me rephrase that. We only remember important events in your plot because of how we feel about them, not because of how big they are. Remember the fear you felt when the Beast Titan broke everything you knew about Titans. Remember when you hated Frieza so much and didn't know how he'd be beaten until you felt like justice is about to be served when Kakarot became a Super Saiyan. Imagine if the build-up to Super Saiyan wasn't that grand. We knew how much Kakarot loved his friends, and we knew how much faith Vegeta had that the Super Saiyan would defeat Frieza. And what was it that triggered Kakarot's transformation? Losing a friend. And what was it that set Vegeta's redemption into stone? His faith was more than just a fairy tale, replacing his rage that was used for conquering into a rage used for protecting, like the first Super Saiyan he saw, like the Super Saiyan in those stories. If you doubt me, just look at Super Saiyan Blue. That form was so uninspired, so uncompelling. Nothing about Goku and Vegeta's characters made us care about it, to the point that it literally slipped under our noses that form has no legitimate wins in any of its appearances. We see it and feel the furtherance of the form because of what we saw in how Kakarot and Vegeta obtained it. What am I saying? We didn't see how they obtained it. It was off screen. Things that go under the scene category are a character's motivations and a character's backstories. Tie any trait in their personality back to one of these. Luffy's goofy nature and free nature is tied to his motivation to be the Pirate King, and his value of his friends is tied to the backstory and how Shanks influenced him. Sanji's cookery ties to his motivation of finding the Old Blue, and his perviness goes back to his backstory with his family. Things that go under the unseen category are how those ties are there, how a trait ties with motivation or a backstory. I watched this one Bleach movie where Ichigo goes to hell with his fella because he wants to save his sister, and the fella says he's helping Ichigo because the same thing happened to his sister, so he doesn't want it to happen to anyone else. But later, plot twist, bro is the bad guy who actually trapped Ichigo's sister, and guess his reason. The same thing happened to his sister and he wants everyone else to suffer the same fate. The exact same event is tying to a good trait making a hero in one case and a bad trait making a villain in another. And the only difference is the how. How a character is shaped by a motivation or a backstory is the unseen layer. Luffy goes around bringing smiles to people's faces, and Kaido makes them smile by giving them the smile fruit. Both of them are joy boy, but one is a fraud. Which of course brings us to personality. Personality is what we are always seeing about your character. The packaging of the seen and unseen elements. The reason those elements are the most important, even though the personality is what we are always seeing, is because we are naturally gonna wonder why a certain trait is there. And if there is nothing behind that trait, we aren't compelled. We don't care. This is an NPC as far as we are concerned. This works for hateable characters too, and even inter-character relationships. We see how the loser Matahachi in Vagabond is, and we hate him. And we know he's not just hateable for the sake of it when we see his garbage grandmother. You wouldn't expect someone like her to raise someone honorable. You hate him and it makes sense. How do we even see personality? A character's actions and reactions. In my manga, there's these 4 bounty hunters, and when a non-bounty related danger appears, 2 of them are willing to help out while the others aren't. And the ones that aren't have their own reasons for staying out of it, while the ones that do have their own reasons for jumping into it, revealing traits based on their reactions to that danger. And of course, their actions are what I'm going through when they are after different bounties with different circumstances. Why they take those actions. Take note, a character's words do count as actions or reactions, and so do their comments about other characters. So the procedure is to show us a compelling trait by having a character act or react to something, and pay it off with an interesting backstory later on that may explain it, if the character is important enough, that is. Or tie it to their motivation, their goal in some way, whether it's to press the like button or to rain hell upon anyone you know until they subscribe.
Whatever you do, never let a character's trait just be there for decoration. There must always be justification, or at least a sense that there is a justification. And that is how you compel a reader with a character. And to tie this back to the title, once we are compelled by your character, we will be invested more in your story through your character. Their backstories can make world building matter. Their motivations can make us feel the weight of the plot.
This video ties in well with this other video about how to write characters like a Jeet.